All right, welcome back to part two of our special E3 podcast for the state of gaming. And this is the Microsoft special, or the Scorpio special.
Yeah, we all know there's gonna be a whole lot of Scorpio talk, if not only because there's not a whole lot else to show at Microsoft's conference. I want to just talk about the games first, not that there's many, just so we can get that out of the way.
Get it out of the way, because let's be honest, there ain't much to talk about.
Yeah, so pretty much what it comes down to in terms of games, the ones that people are probably going to look forward to the most are, one where everyone's waiting to see Crackdown 3. We haven't seen much of it in a while, and everyone loved Crackdown 1. Crackdown 2 was also really good, but I know some people had some issues with it and didn't like it as much as the first. But it's pretty much just open world destruction, and I mean...
Yeah, your basic, fun, time-killing kind of game, you know? Like, I enjoy those kinds of games too, but when your list of games is that small, you need something more than just that, or shooting zombies, or, well, that's it.
Well, they don't have any of their heavy hitters, that's the thing.
Yeah.
They don't have... Halo's not going to be shown at this conference. Gears,
no.
They just got it, and Forza as well.
Yeah.
So.
But even if Halo was there, unless they're completely revolutionizing the game, which they won't, because why would you mess with something that's worked so well for almost 2 decades? It's like, oh, cool, another Halo, yay, you know, like...
Oh, well, I mean, I'm sure Halo fans do feel that way.
And yeah, for sure, but...
in the competitive sense, but, I mean, if you're comparing them to, Sony, it's kind of it's not working in their favor right now, but when we get to the Scorpio part, I will play devil's advocate, and I will argue for Microsoft, because I know how they might play their cards in a way that they could actually succeed. But they're definitely on shaky grounds right now in their competition, and Crackdown is definitely their biggest game that they have to show us. And I'll give them the benefit of the doubt on this. They may play it right and actually have Crackdown 3 blow us away at E3 this year. I don't know what they'll necessarily do, but now seeing as we don't have their normal competitors, Prototype and Infamous there to compete with it, it might stand out a bit more than it did when it originally came out.
Yeah.
All right, so the next game is State of Decay 2. I don't know did you play the first one at all? No? It's basically like a zombie survival game, and it did it really well. You basically, how else do I put it? It's more like if you had DayZ in a single-player campaign sort of way, and you jump back and forth between different survivors, and you micromanage your survival stash, your inventory, your communities, and you got to explore. It really did a good job of simulating a zombie survival setting and mindset that you need to adopt. I think they did that really well, and what they're introducing with this next one, aside from better graphics, is co-op play, so you can have your friends join you, which is logically the next step, I think, for that series. It's also coming out on PC like everything else Microsoft's showing us, but I'm still happy that they have a good game. Microsoft's behind a good game like this. I think it has a lot of potential, and I would like to, roam the zombie wasteland with my friends and, micromanage a little bit. I think that this is the smallest game that I'm going to mention, and I really think that it's my favorite of the three, and it's kind of fallen under the radar for a little while. It's Cuphead, which we saw, I think, a couple years ago.
2 years ago, they showed that.
They first showed it. It's that 50s-style, cartoony-looking indie game. It's a side-scroller. I think we all know, at least the people who are really really big fans of Cuphead, know the reason why it probably died down a little bit. I think it's because when they first presented the game, it was going to be a boss rush style game where you go to different places and just fight the boss and co-op play, and it was like a sort of a combination between a platformer and a space shooter. The reason that they may need to pull back on production was because people started to complain there were no level segments, and they felt the need to add that in. So it seems likely that we saw some footage of levels that they're adding now, and now I guess it extended production time because they didn't expect to have to add in levels, and who knows how many levels they had to add in at this point, and how many mechanics.
Be a lot of
those
extra
levels.
work.
Yeah, and all the animation, hand drawing all the levels and painting it and animating them, would have to be insane. And this is an indie team we're talking about. But I'm hoping to see something, just because the deadline keeps getting pushed, and I want to have at least a good range of when that game's going to come out, because that's a day one buy for me. I'm sold on that already. All right, and that I'll just mention my false hope game, because there's really not much else. We know we're not seeing Halo. We know we're not seeing Gears, or we're probably not going to see Forza. We shouldn't see Dead Rising.
Yeah.
But I think the only thing at this point that we can see is that we've been seeing a lot of remasters lately. We saw Voodoo Vince get remastered. We saw the Rare Replay, Master Chief Collection. So they're trying to really unite all those Xbox exclusives on this one console, and I think that's pretty commendable. Really, at this point, all we can really hope for is maybe a Blinks the Cat remastered or something.
Yeah.
So all that there's left, really, I can't think of any other game that they haven't brought to Xbox One. At this point, that's all I can hope for.
There is one other game that you didn't mention yet.
Oh yeah,
Sea of Thieves.
Oh,
if you remember,
right.
It's been there
God.
a few times.
How
A game
did that-
from Rare. I know that one's getting a lot of people I know are pretty excited to play that. And well, I definitely want to see more before I like jump on any sort of hype train. Like, yeah, it's great. You're a bunch of pirates in an open world online game doing pirate things. My main concern, as is the concern with a lot of these types of games, is you're gonna get it, you're gonna love it for a few weeks, and then the grind's just gonna wear you down. You know, it's like, I mean, depending on how much is put on survival, you know.
Right.
If it goes full on survival like Ark or DayZ or things like that, I know, at least for me and the people I know who are right now excited for it, it's gonna fizzle out pretty quickly, because it's just, you can only do the grind for so long. But if they scale back those things and put more emphasis on piloting or sailing ships, combat, exploration, then it's got some potential. My only other gripe with it, and this is more just personal, because I love the idea of open world pirate game, but just in general, I've always kind of had a problem with games that try to go for that cartoony, fun look.
aesthetic.
And like, I get it. There's multiple reasons why you do it. You know, get younger audiences, graphical longevity, because it won't look dated as much. You know, like World of Warcraft is like the prime example of a game that, when it came out, wasn't necessarily the most stunning game, but it still looked great, and it still holds up, even if you don't include all the graphical updates they've done over the years, because the aesthetic is unique enough that it still draws you in. And so I get why they go for that, but I would rather a real gritty, violent pirate game, because let's be honest, pirates weren't, you know, cartoony type people. They were vicious, violent pirates. you know?
I see your point. I don't know how I don't know if the art style really detracts it from me. I think like you said, I think they're doing it on purpose, maybe to appeal to more audiences, and it's sort of in Rare's style to do that, I guess. To go for
sure.
like, I mean, it's aside from maybe Perfect Dark Zero or Perfect Dark, I think they tend to go for maybe a little more cartoony, a little more kiddie, just to make it like. But that doesn't mean it's not fun for adults too. I mean, Rare's sort of been all over the place in the past few years. Maybe this could be their redemption. I can't believe I forgot about this, actually. It's a big game. But from what I've seen so far, well, personally, it doesn't appeal to me that much, just because I'm more of a single-player kind of guy. I mean, it'd be great if they added in some sort of single-player component. The problem with games like this is that it is a risk on the publisher's part or on the developer's part, because it's really relying on a community to keep their game going. And if the game doesn't catch on, it could die out very fast, kind of like Evolve. So, I mean, the game does, like, the main grind of it, or the main gameplay loop does look interesting in the way that you interact with your friends, and the way you make a crew, and you have your ship, and you can meet another crew and take them down. That's a really interesting way of approaching the pirate paradigm, and it could really succeed. Yeah. But it's a bit of a risk, and it could also potentially it
could be a big flop.
It could flop. But I'm not gonna put my eggs in that basket. I'm not gonna bet on them losing either. I have to say, I'm interested to see where that goes. I will be keeping an eye out on how it succeeds or if it fails.
And before we jump into Scorpio, I'm going to add a little juice to our Microsoft discussion.
Oh, please!
Just based off the fact that CD Projekt Red has gone through Microsoft before, I'll take the chance here to just talk about what they will bring. I think the obvious thing is Gwent. It just went into public beta 2-3 days ago, and we still are waiting to hear more about its single-player campaign that's going to be part of the game, which supposedly is going to have player decisions and a story, and so I'm obviously very excited to see how that how that works. And I've been playing the beta. I was in the closed beta, and I'm obviously still playing a bit of the open beta. And I think it has a lot of potential to be a real competitor for Hearthstone, because there's a lot of these card games coming up, but this one's got a strong base to work off of.
Yeah, for sure.
It's got a lot of lore behind it. It's already got 5 different factions you can play as.
You're missing just one small thing too. The fact that people already kind of know a bit how to play it.
Exactly, yeah. It's already got another game to draw its base in from.
Genius.
And yeah, if they nail down the mechanics and make it complex enough to be like strategically enjoyable and simple enough to draw people in, so basically the same balance that Hearthstone struck, it could become the real competitor for Hearthstone. Because right now Hearthstone's just well and beyond.
It's dominating.
It is the go-to digital card game if that's what you're into. But Gwent, if it has a good showing and it really delivers on its single-player promises, could potentially be a big deal. The only other thing from CD Projekt Red is Cyberpunk 2077, a game we've painfully known about for 4 years with very little information. Chances are they're not going to show off anything because they're going to probably want to put all the focus on Gwent, because that's probably going to see a full release, if I had to guess, sometime later this year, which we'll probably find out during E3 if they're that close, because they're already in a public beta, so they're pretty close, I'd say. But that doesn't mean maybe we won't get some kind of just a little teaser, just something. Even if it's like, because what CD Projekt like to have done in the past is they'll have their trailers, and then in the end you got like a little message to decode, like in some of the frames, and that references future things. So maybe even just something, a little something like, oh, hey, we're gonna show off this game in a few weeks or months at Gamescom or some one of the PAXs or whatever. Just something like that, just to give us an idea. But
I wouldn't rule it out completely. Yeah, that Cyberpunk might show up, and I think this is a good way of segueing into the Scorpio talk as well. Is that they might want to show off the Scorpio's capabilities, which I mean they're definitely going to show off their capabilities. But I don't know if CD Projekt Red maybe signed up for that and will be showing us Cyberpunk 2077, even if it's just like a few seconds of it,
like a 30-second
like here you go. And if it shows up, it'll make the fans go wild, and I think it could really succeed, and it would really show off the graphical prowess of the Scorpio, just because we know that CD Projekt Red likes to be graphically impressive. And I don't think that Cyberpunk 2077 will look mediocre. No, I think that's a safe bet at this point.
I think it'll probably look pretty spectacular, and yeah, like I said, it'd be a huge win for Microsoft to get that game first shown on the Scorpio.
60 FPS only with Scorpio.
Yeah, 1080p, 4K, 60 FPS.
Right. They could pull that. But I mean, PS4 Pro, they could also say it. But I mean, they might get that deal with CD Projekt Red.
Yeah.
But now let's go straight into the nitty gritty. Let's talk about Scorpio, because we know that that's not only going to be at the show. That's going to probably be most of the show somehow, in some way, shape, or form. If we're going to see some sort of miscellaneous developer showing off their game, it's probably going to be like, and look at how well it runs on the Scorpio.
Yeah.
Wow. We're going to have a lot of PR people. We're going to have stats, specs. We're going to have tons of these graphs showing us how good. I guarantee we're seeing this for at least 20 minutes of the show, at least.
Yeah.
We're going to be seeing how great the Scorpio is, which, I got mixed feelings. I feel like I want to see more games and hardware at E3, but I guess they're going to have to show us games to show how well the hardware runs.
Yeah, because you can throw teraflops and gigabytes at us all you want, but until we actually see what it can do, and considering it's got a release date of this holiday, they're going to have to show off a lot of things. I mean, one thing I know for sure that will probably get showcased on it is the new Middle-earth Shadow of War game, because they've already announced that that's like the first true 4K Scorpio experience that's going to come out for it. So we'll probably see a lot of that with Microsoft as well. And maybe if they're smart, they'll have 2 or 3 other games, multi-platform games, that are going to be like, look, you can buy this on your PlayStation, but it looks better here. Of course, ignoring completely that it'll still look better on the PC, but that's not their concern.
That's not the point. It's going to essentially be a small PC, like we were discussing. It's going to be a smaller PC. It's going to probably run around less than a PC would cost, so probably between... I was talking about 700, 800, but I said that was too high. You were speculating more around 500 maybe. Yeah. Which I think is more reasonable. I think that would make a lot more sense.
The price is really... I think,
matters.
As much as it'll be cool to see all the specs and which games, the price is what's going to make or break this, because Microsoft dropped the ball with the price of the Xbox One by forcing the Kinect, and it was $100 more than the PS4. And that basically sunk them, and they still haven't recovered from that. If this game comes out any more expensive than $500, like if it's $600, $700, $800, it's not going to work. It's not going to sell. Like, it'll sell. You'll have those people who, those fanboys, and also just people who have the money and don't care. But it's not gonna change the tide of the console war with Sony, because you just can't do that with a console that's running at twice as much money as its other versions, like the Xbox One S, which is $300, or the PS4, normal PS4, which is also like between $300 and $400.
Right.
So they need no more than $500 if they want this to be a viable game changer in the market.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how they approach this, and what, because I know they will have a flagship game that goes with it. I'm not sure if it's going to be a new IP. This Lionhead went down. We won't get a new Fable.
Yeah.
I really don't know what it could be. Maybe it'll be something completely out of the blue, and I think that's maybe even their best bet at this point.
Yeah,
They'll show off some unique game that shows off a new franchise to sort of step up there with Gears and Halo. Yeah. That says, hey, you should get an Xbox Scorpio for this.
Yeah.
If I was the CEO and I had ultimate power and unlimited money, if I was Bill Gates, I don't know.
Yeah.
I would do something like that.
Because even if Halo was at the C3, if that was the selling point, if they were showing, look, this is the greatest looking first-person shooter we've ever seen on a console, like, that's great and all, but that doesn't change the fact that it's the 6th entry, or the 8th entry if you want to count
Reach and ODST.
You need something new. I mean, they need exclusives, not just like obviously all their exclusives will go to PC as well, but they need something that exclusive PlayStation owners not only can't have but will want. Because let's be honest, you look at the games we talked about before, how many PlayStation fanboys at home are like, oh no, I can't play those games, when they look at what they have coming up, which we'll talk about later,
Well, it's a matter of taste, but yeah, I don't think anyone's going to buy an Xbox for Cuphead. Maybe Crackdown is iffy. I feel maybe a couple people might here and there, but it's not going to be as big of a seller as maybe some of the new Sony games, which we'll get into.
Yeah. None of them are system sellers. That's just it's
not
an insult on the games necessarily, but system sellers are a specific type of game, and those aren't that.
So I'm hoping we'll see some of those maybe for the Scorpio.
Yeah. And because we could also ask, where do you think? I mean, we'll talk about this too when we get to Sony, but we've heard rumors of a PS5, right? So is this Scorpio going to start a process of like every year or two we're going to get, okay, we got Scorpio this year, next year maybe we'll get the PS5. Does that mean we're going to have Scorpio 2 in 2 years or 3 years? Or
I hope not. I don't want to see console gaming take this turn, just because it would turn into almost an iPhone situation where every year you have a different iteration. And in the end, I feel that only the consumers will hurt from this, because you can only iterate so many times before you're just adding in a little bit of graphical improvements each time. And if you're going to lock out players from playing games, because I know right now they're not, like we were discussing, it doesn't lock out players yet, but once the gap gets big, it's possible at one point that they'll just say, screw it, and they'll make the Xbox 2 or the PS5, and then everyone who has all their PS4 games won't be able to move there. They'll have to buy a PS5 to play the new games. Yeah. And I think if the gap between generations becomes about 4 or 5 years, it becomes a little bit... It becomes a bit of a struggle to want to get a console, especially if you're a PC gamer. Because right now I think the main thing keeping people on console, keeping them away from PC, is that console gaming is still pretty affordable to buy. If you already have a TV, just to buy the box, plug it in, and play. It's easy. But a PC, a really good PC for $1,000, that might be too expensive for some people, but it would be really good. And if we're getting new consoles every 5 years, that are about
it adds
$500 a pop. In 1 decade, you've already paid off your PC.
Suddenly, PC somehow becomes the cheaper alternative.
Yeah.
Who would have thought that?
At that point, I would stop buying consoles. It would really, the exclusives would really have to be the one thing to pull me in, and they better be good if you're making me buy a console every 5 years.
Exclusives are the only reason I have a console this generation, because I have no reason to buy an Xbox, and I bought a PlayStation for the games we're going to talk about later, and also to finally play The Last of Us, the Uncharted's, Horizon Zero Dawn,
of course,
and all those other games I still haven't played yet that I want to play. You know, it's honestly staggering when you look at the list. Like a few months ago, I looked. There was a website that has like all the exclusives for each system, and if you look, you bring up the Xbox ones, you got like a list that big. You bring up the PlayStation ones, it's that big, and you're just like, how does this even happen? You know, like.
I think Microsoft stopped trying with that. I think they're trying to play a different game. I don't know exactly what their game plan is just yet. I feel like we'll learn a lot about that when we see Scorpio.
Yeah.
Because they're definitely not competing in the sense of having as many exclusives. I know they're definitely not competing with that, because even last E3 they didn't do any. I mean, they had Scalebound, and even that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
So now we're really like
that and Fable Legends. You know, two potentially good exclusives. Both can, you know, and there's nothing's going their way games wise, you know. So.
Well, I'm curious to see if they pull through, or if this spell the end of Microsoft's console gaming. Scorpio could be either the savior or the dammer, the
bringer of death, whatever you want
of Microsoft's console.
Yeah. I think most likely the role it's going to play is it's going to be, I guess you could say, a gateway to get those still dedicated console players to the PC market. Because Microsoft has also stated in the past that they're recommitting to PC gaming. You know, like they're trying to
Windows 10 store and all that.
They're trying to like show that, okay, we care about PC gaming again. Because during the lifetime of the 360, it was bad. Like they just did not care.
Games for Windows Live, what a disaster!
It was garbage. It was a joke. And like the few ports that we got from the Halo franchise were just generally bad, and like it just didn't work. But now I think PC in general is returning. Like it's been on the rise for a few years, you know. Because I remember, like I guess like between like 5-10 years ago, they were always talking about how like, oh, is PC gaming dying? You know, because consoles like the PS3, Xbox 360 generation really put consoles at the centerpiece, and I think now we're starting to see like the balance of power shift back towards PC. Ironically,
that is exactly when I got into PC gaming. It was about 5-10 years ago, and 10 years ago. It was because I got Steam, I got Half-Life 2, and I remember having to get Steam to play Half-Life, and I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
This is terrible.
Yeah.
And I remember looking up on forums how to use Steam, because I wasn't getting it. I got locked out of my account, and people were all just crapping on Steam, saying, this is going to die out soon, don't worry, Steam's a disaster. And if you look at that evolution from 10 years ago, Steam being this hated program that no one wanted,
to
turning into this not even just a savior, it is synonymous with PC gaming.
Yeah.
Steam is PC gaming.
It is.
Windows 10 is now trying to enter that with Windows 10 Store.
So did EA with Origin.
Origin's still there.
GOG too, with GOG Galaxy.
GOG is definitely a good option. I think they're not quite at Steam's level yet, but
no,
they do have some really great.
They have things that the others don't, which is the old games. Because EA has got its games and Windows 10, like, again, it's just Microsoft exclusives. But again, as we point out, they're not just not a lot of them. So it's not.
There's not, but what they're doing is pretty smart in the sense that with their new Xbox One exclusive games, and we're probably gonna see more of this at the C3 as well. Is when they release a new game, it's also they have this thing called Play Anywhere, where you get it if you buy it once, you get it on both, and I think that's pretty cool. Not that I would really need both, but at least I don't need to make the decision. If I get Forza, I like to be able to play on my console, but if I want to see how the graphics look on my PC, the option's there.
I think the existence of that program plays on what I said before. Them trying to bridge that gap, like
absolutely
trying to bring together gaming into one platform, which would naturally be a PC because it's the most open of the platforms. Like it just makes sense to integrate what console gaming into PC gaming, because as it is, you already can plug in controllers to the PC, you can play most of the games no problem. It just makes sense for that to be the final platform of gaming if consoles are to die out.
All right, so I think does that cover everything we needed to discuss about?
Yeah, I think that's a good place to stop with part 2. Microsoft / Scorpio / the general state of console gaming.